Hi, everyone.
Well done, man.
There he's go, boys. I'll take
He's
that.
alive. He's alive.
I'm back. How we all doing?
Aye, all good.
All good.
Good.
Couldn't wait for tonight, to be honest. I was
sorry, go for it, Steve.
Just excited to get on again with a couple of beers.
Aye. But listen,
I've seen what you had sitting at your work desk today.
That was about 15 beers.
What kind of establishment do you work with?
We were doing a steal a beer day, and I ended up with 15. Some poor people ended up with 0.
You're the office bully, Stephen. Are you the office bully?
No, I'm not a bully. I'm not a bully.
Well, you ended up
He's not a bully. He can just handle himself.
Exactly, Ross.
Well, I'm glad to be back first time in a month. But it's been an eventful night. I ordered my usual pizza tonight, and it came without chilies on it, so I'm not going to recover for that the entire weekend. Absolutely fizzing. I didn't have enough time to send it back because I was coming on this. But what can you do? Eh? I've learned to deal with things like that. I'm getting a better man. Right, listen, will we get into this before I keep talking shite?
Okay, talk shit if you want. We all love it.
Evening, Paul.
I'm not saying evening to Sean, because if that's the Sean Ross that's knocked me off the Super 6, I'm not his pal.
Yeah,
well, that's where I was just going to go first, and you would be correct in thinking that that's the Sean Ross. So the Super 6, obviously it's on the morrow. Get your picks in, didn't forget, Anthony, Stephen, all those who do. But the top 5 as it stands is Sean Ross on 106. Then we've got our very own nice, haven't seen you, this is the first time I've seen you, he's got a nice new tight haircut. According to me, it's the first time my eyes have seen it. Quite tidy. Young Francis is on 104. Then we've got Alistair. I think he was the first one in the comments tonight. Cheers, mate.
Giving you grief about being in a wheelchair.
Aye. He's on 103. And we've got James Bowie on 99 and Kevin Hampsey on 98. That's Magnolia. Your top 5. Has Ross been away painting the town? Magnolia? Aye. Aye, I bloody was, aye. I'm in actually up to 8th position now.
Well,
I'm in 88, which is still a wee bit behind. I don't know where you are, Stephen. I only look 20th. At the Tapsy League skid. So that's where we are, and again, just remember and get your picks in so you can try and knock Sean off the top. Before we get into the podcast proper, I'll touch on our new sponsors that you can see at the side here. Beer 52, get all over it, guys. If you visit www.beer52.com/Celts. That's /. Cheers, Monty. And if once you go into that, I think you just basically cover the $5.95 postage, and you'll get your case of beer. I think you get 8 beers in the box. Myself, I actually used to subscribe to them during lockdown, and a really good selection, great choice of beer, and I was getting it up until I realised that I didn't like the taste of ales and IPAs. But for those that do, it is the very box for you. Cheers for all the welcome backs, by the way. It's the very box for you if you're into that kind of thing. You get wee snacks with it as well. It comes from different parts of the world each month. You're getting a case of beer and you don't even need to leave the comfort of your own couch. What's wrong with that?
And you're getting a magazine.
And you're getting a magazine.
Aye.
Well, is this one of the magazines you found when you were playing 5, Stephen?
Aye, it's not as good as
You seem to enjoy that magazine too well.
The top shelf of the beach shop and still game.
By the way, they stopped money a game of copy of their magazines.
Okay.
Sorry, just refreshing there.
KFC. I'm not eating KFC tonight. Be happy.
I know, eh? That's because he's been running for it that much. Cheers, Alistair. Hey, listen, we'll get right into it. Excuse me. And by the way, I want to thank you, Stephen, for pitching me right back into the host chair. I just wanted to ease back in after a month, but no such luck. So we'll just start on obviously the game on Wednesday night. I mean, a disappointing result, disappointing-ish performance, but just sort of, I'll come to you first, Stephen. Just a sort of brief overview of the match and what you thought. Didn't go into too much detail because we'll go into all that, but just a sort of overview of what you thought.
What did I think of that game? I thought we were terrible, to be honest. From start to finish, the pressing of the team seemed disjointed. You look at the centre halves; they were all over the place at some points. That match, they're too wide for my liking. Goalkeeping mistakes. The centre half, so Welsh and Jenz. I know Welsh in terms of stats had a great performance, but it doesn't, from the naked eye, as we like to say, Ross, it didn't look that great. The team for me just didn't turn up. Again, there's an issue. It seems to be ongoing at the minute. We're not clinical. We're not taking the chances that we create, and we created a good load of chances against them, like we did against Shakhtar Donetsk, and we still didn't take them. I know there was a cracking goal. We wanted the way we play on the press, obviously, and Kyogo and Jota link up, and he scores a brilliant goal in that sense. But I know you want to go into it in detail after this. I just thought to be honest, we were terrible. That's my overwhelming opinion on it.
Listen, you're fair. You're quite entitled to your opinion. It's fair enough. For me, what's that rookie mistake? Listen, I think terrible is a strong word, slightly harsh. I think we played a very good team. We'll obviously get into it further. I'll just come to you, Franny, with the same question. Just an overview of the game.
I think Willie summed it up perfectly in the chat, saying it was almost like when we play Hibs, we're the Hibs in this Champions League, where we just came up against a really, really good team on the night. Like, you look at Leipzig's early form and stuff, and you can clearly there was something not right with them early season to get turned over by Shakhtar. Their league position, I feel, is a bit false in the sense when you see that performance. They were just they were really, really good tonight. I understand what Stephen's saying. We were poor at times. I thought defensively. I thought Jenz had a really, really poor game. I was not impressed with him at all. He just seemed to get dragged. His
distribution was no great.
And I just thought he got dragged all over the place. That could have been down to Leipzig a bit. I agree the centre half swore. Did seem to be all over the place a wee bit, but I thought Jenz just kept on getting sucked right in at the middle of the park a lot. But it was one of them, the cliche bad night at the office, but it was probably arguably our poorest performance in the Champions League, but also you can't take anything away from Leipzig. They were absolutely frightening, I thought, the other night.
Aye. I mean, I tend to agree with that. I think that we didn't play to our levels, and certainly no to the levels we have reached for large periods of the first two games. And I think the Leipzig performance against Shakhtar, coupled with our two performances early in the group, I think gave us a sort of false pretense of how this game was going to go. I mean, after the Shakhtar game, and that, I'm sure I predicted that it might in the last podcast I was on that we would win in Leipzig. But the more time went on, what is it?
I was like, when we last on, we took it.
I know. No, but the more time went on, the game grew closer. I mean, that result didn't surprise me in the slightest. I think they've got a good manager in that.
Can I jump in there a wee bit? Can I jump in there a wee bit?
Go for it, kid.
What we're saying here points to me like a lack of ambition. I think what Franny said in terms of what William said, we're the Hibs in this tournament. I mean, we slaughtered, and loads of people slaughtered a certain manager across the city for saying they couldn't compete with the millions and millions of pounds that's being spent in the Champions League.
I'm not saying we can't compete.
And then,
I'm not saying that.
But no, sometimes turn up and beat us.
But what I'm saying is you can't always point the finances or stuff like that. Like Postecoglou's always said it.
So you just disregarding everything you said about Bodo Glimt then, aye?
But Bodo Glimt, like we're going back last year for that.
But finances, Stephen, and Bodo Glimt.
Listen. As Postecoglou, you're on for tonight, big chief, aren't you? As Postecoglou himself said that he wants us not to think of outside factors, but control what we do on the pitch.
Yeah.
And he even pointed to it, Ross, in that game. We entered survival mode. We did every principle that he's kind of laid into Celtic. We tried to play safe, and Celtic in Europe, away from home especially, get into their shells does not work. And time again, whether it's a Rosenberg, an Anderlecht, an Aalborg, we come away with nothing most times away from Europe, and that needs to stop.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but what I was saying is, like, I wasn't surprised that we lost that game because Leipzig are a quality team. They are. They were disjointed and they'd lost their way under the last manager. That happens. But they've got this Rose in who's a good manager, and he's sort of put them back on the straight and narrow a bit. Don't get me wrong. At times, Celtic were wide open. And it does boil down to the way we play. But
I'm not the one talking necessarily.
I'm not talking about finances. But it does boil down to the way we play that we were so wide open because we are trying to take the game, but we're up against a really good team. And listen, when the ball gets turned over and they break at you and hit you, they're a really good counter-attacking team, as Ange alluded to. But listen, I still think there was enough. Yes, first choice. Hi, Monty. Good to have you back.
I'm just glad that you're back because I was turning into you.
Aye, right. Listen, I'll just move on for that because we'll get into it further. Monty's a prick. But we'll sort of we'll touch on the sort of missed chances and the let-offs first of all. So Franny, I mean, that and Cuckoo won in 17 minutes, the offside, just what we're talking about there. It's sort of indicative to how wide open we were for large periods of the match. Would you agree with that?
I thought defensively we did leave ourselves exposed a bit for them, like that. Their front players were like that, and Kunku, Werner's rapid. I can't even pronounce the leg. Silva and that. They were all fast players, and you could see they're come from the ball and that it's one, two touches and stuff, and it's away. And I thought even with the replay, I know obviously they drew the lines out, but when I seen the replay, I thought it was onside. But obviously, if that was one thing that VAR never gets wrong, I guess is offside because it's not subjective. At the end of the day, it is black and white. So we did get away with one. Then it did seem like you say indicative of the two centre halves just being so far apart, and it just broke through the middle. But what a finish! But I mean, I know it was offside. But what a finish!
A tremendous finish. But again, it comes for us losing the ball.
Yeah.
High up, like in their final third. Excuse me. It was it was Hattati that gave it away, and like that they were on us, and they went through the midfield, broke the lines before you know it, and they're clean through. This is the level we're at. This is the level we have to get used to. These players, I think 8. Was it? I've seen somewhere.
I thought it
8
was
out
9
of the 11.
until Anthony pointed out that
Really, I've never played in the Champions League. I know they've obviously played 2 games previous to the one last night, but you have to get used to this level. And I think the first 2 games they done well. Wednesday night was a big learning curve. But coming to you, Stephen, I mean, do you think we like that quick break? Obviously, right. We got away with one. Do you think we learned for that, or do you think it was like a quite? But Leipzig, do you think that Leipzig had too much pace and quality in the turnover, or we like? Was it a bit of both? Like we sort of like, I don't know what I'm trying to ask here.
I think you're trying to say that we were the 2 centre halves were too wide, too exposed. But
aye.
But was it the 2 exposed, or were they too quick in the attack?
I think for me, the aspect of us learning we haven't done, because exactly what Leipzig done to us, Shakhtar did against us, and Real Madrid, to a far bigger level, did against us. So that's always going to be a part of the game from what I can tell in this Champions League. We're always trying to be on the front foot, which is fair enough. I love that. I love playing attacking football, and you're going to get consequences at the back, which is why I point to the fact that I did at the start of the show. we need to be more clinical, because in that game, I think we had about 10 or 12 shots in the first half. We just need to take them opportunities. I think what you're saying, Ross, the centre halves, I mean, that's our second choice pairing of Welsh and Jenz, and they don't even look like they talk to each other for me. They don't even look like they're communicating. One's away up to the centre mid, and one's hanging back, and the lines are all over the place. The breakaway with Nkunku, it was a cracking finish. I mean, his toe or knee was offside. Fine margins, obviously, in European football, but again, when you watch it in real time, like Franny, I thought it was like, that's a banker, that's a goal. And you see the referee going to his ear in the VAR check. But we got 2 let-offs. Like, it could have been a lot worse than it actually was, if we're honest. But it just comes back to the point that I tried to make there. We need to take our chances in this level. And for the last 3 or 4 games, we haven't been doing that. And I don't know if it's an issue or a confidence thing, maybe coming from the back a wee bit, but we need to get rid of that out of our game.
See, I know what you're saying about needing to take our chances. In the first 2 games, I would 100% agree with that. But for me, the chances that, or the best chances that we made, came in the first half, where, other than the goal, but there was 2 or 3 chances in quick succession, but it was in like a window of about 2 or 3 minutes. You had obviously the Taylor one and the Jenz one, but just before that you had Kyogo, where Celtic had kind of broke. And for me, I understand what you're saying, but it's not like that was a gilt-edged opportunity for Kyogo. I think for me, it's a good header, and a keeper equal to it, and then obviously you've got the corner. I don't think it was a subsequent corner, but it was a corner a wee minute after it or something. And you had the Taylor chance. He maybe could get it further to the side, but for me that falls to the wrong guy. Then it breaks to Jenz, and it's a bit high, and makes it more difficult. But for me, that's 3 chances in quick succession, right? If say the Kyogo one goes in, right, the other 2 chances for me don't come along then, because Leipzig take centre and start the game again, and the game goes in a different path. So I know what you're saying, but I mean,
it's for me, it's like, when I say clinical, I mean a couple of things. So decision making is a big part of this. We're not clinical in our thinking. Like, when we get to the final third, sometimes it feels like we're checking back, or we're looking for that safe pass. And like Postecoglou said, it's survival mode, or you're trying to just survive in the game when you can't actually do that because the game gets away from you. I mean, Mieta did a cracking cross. Patrick McLaughlin alluded to it. Kyogo done a fantastic header, and it was a great save. But I think when you look at the actual way we play, and it's strange enough the doctor comes in with a great comment, if I can find it. The issue is as well, how do we practice setting up when we're used to the counter press by playing in the SPFL? Like, do you know what I'm saying? So there's different types of systems we need to get used to, and try and kind of find a way of tactical, I don't know, adjustments, or making something different during the game. I'm not asking Postecoglou to change the style of play, no way, but there has to be a way where your midfield's not leaving 10, 15-yard gaps from your centre halves and vice versa to the forwards. We need to be more compact in that situation to protect against the break. And then when we're going forward, be more clinical in our decision making. I think it was clear to see the likes of Jota, even in the Champions League, got a cracking goal, but he can do. For me personally, he could do so much more. He's so effective. He has the quality. He could take players on all day long. And then you have Mieta, his sprinting to get in behind. He does it maybe once or twice, and then it's checking back, finding that simple pass. So there needs to be like a cohesive unit going forward, and also coming back the way in the pitch. And then maybe you'll see a different result in terms of conceding goals and also scoring them.
Yeah, listen, I totally understand what you're saying there, and I sort of agree, but I don't know what the answer is to find a way to be more compact. You want them to be more compact, but away from home, when you're playing 3 in the middle of the park, I think it's very difficult to be more compact, and especially when you're trying to get on the front foot the way we try and do. But again, for me, it comes down to quality. You're talking about decision making. Sometimes I think the right decision is made, but the executing of the decision is no to the level that it needs to be, and then the ball gets turned over and you get hit in the break. Just sort of jump in, Franny, and add to that whatever you think, man.
No, Kenny, I sort of agree to an extent with both, he's like, I understand what Stephen's. I 100% agree that Joe. I wouldn't say he's been disappointing in the Champions League, but
Aye.
I expected more from him. I just thought that was going to be one of our shining lights in the Champions League, but I think he's only showed flashes. You've kind of got to respect the opposition that, like Real Madrid and that, there will be better players than Jota that'll look average against them. So I've been a wee bit disappointed with him. Maeda, I understand the argument with him. I would maybe consider getting Haksabanovic a run. Like I like Maeda. I have to. I don't think he's in the best of form now, but I might be falling into the trap. He's the bit of the whipping boy now, and I might just be falling into a wee trapping with that and stuff. Because like if Kyogo scores that header, like it's not an easy header, but if Kyogo scores that, we're maybe having a different conversation with Maeda. He's looked upon differently because he set up a good goal and stuff, but I understand playing Maeda away from home, especially against the Leipzig who are quick on attack, you'll get more work out of Maeda as opposed to a Haksabanovic, but I think you'll maybe get more quality going forward with a Haksabanovic. But it is maybe one of them, maybe be braver in that sense and play a more creative player in Haksabanovic, but I understand why you play Maeda away from home. And but like Alistair said, it's obviously Leipzig have showed how good the team are, but if we win our 2 home games and Real Madrid win their next 2 games, we finish second.
I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
What do you mean you don't like it? So you do why finish second?
But it's trying to bank the points that we're not guaranteed to get. If Real Madrid do this, we should be doing more to make it in our hands instead of relying on other factors.
It's in our hands.
It's in our hands, but
this is what I'm trying to say is the 2 away games, right? We both agreed, Franny. And you actually did in the chat. It was 3 points lost. 2 points dropped against Shakhtar.
The Shakhtar, absolutely.
Yeah.
We should have took that, right? We should have won that game 100% if we took the chances. The Leipzig game, while it was different, and Ross, you made a great point. Their management structures changed. Marco Rose, he's a cracking European manager. He was linked with us before. He's changed the way they've played in the last 3 or 4 weeks. So for me, they're still relatively like we were last year in terms of building and trying to build that team, and albeit they're sprinkled with world-class players in different positions. So that's obviously the difference. But what I'm trying to say, we can't be relying on Madrid beating Shakhtar. We're getting into these home games thinking if we win here, these 2 games we're banking on for second place or third place. I don't want it like that. I want us to win these games.
I'm just trying to put a positive spin at saying if we win the 2 games, I appreciate it's a big if when you look at that Leipzig team the other night. But it's not as we're sitting bottom of the group now. It's not as doom and gloom as it might look.
Aye, but see, I would sort of push back on you there, Stephen, a wee bit. You're saying, like for me, you're saying, we shouldn't be saying, if Real Madrid beat this team, you're not going to tell me the Shakhtar fans are not saying if Leipzig beat Celtic or if Real Madrid beat Celtic. That's just natural. That's how fans talk. That like we try and predict and see what's going to happen with our team. It's just natural for me. Is it right? Maybe no, but it's all part of loving football. It's what we do almost on a weekly basis. But I mean, for me, we're still in the group. We've got 2 home games now. Don't get me wrong, the Leipzig game is going to be difficult, but for me, we're sitting there, we've got 2 home games and then a game that's a free hit against Real Madrid. For me, minimum 4 points for the home games, I'll accept no less than that. But I think the 6 points are still available, and if we get the 6 points, you have to say, I'd be very surprised if we didn't qualify in second place.
Can I as well point out, Strange of the Doctor makes a great point here. It's structural issues, why you're singling out individuals. As we had the point the other day, the negativity and lack of bravery stacks up causing failure. 100%. We're not actually kind of singling out individuals. We're pointing out what could be done maybe better by that individual in that system. And I pointed out as well, I've seen pictures online on Twitter, the gaps between the midfield, the defence and the striker was frightening at times because you made the point, Ross. They overran us, and 2 passes they were through that press, and it was like, wow, we're not catching them the break. Like, and time again it happened.
It's poor for us that in a sense, but it's also quality for them because this is going to sound maybe ridiculous, but we'll not look as exposed when we're playing, I don't know, like a Hearts or something, because they can't turn the ball over as quick as what Leipzig do. So we get back in, but it's just a better quality team. It's sometimes it's not all about what we've done wrong. Obviously, you've got to look at that, and it is part of it. But I mean, sometimes you just can't deal with the way they hit us on the break at times. It was absolutely rapid.
Well then, Ross, to go back to you, how do you deal with that then? Right, we always say Postecoglou learns lessons, Celtic learn lessons in European football, blah blah blah. How do you deal with that? If we're saying the same things week in, week out in European football, because I can guarantee we'll say it again in this European campaign, 100%. So how do you deal with that?
For me to try and deal with that, I think you have to get an extra man in the middle of the park, but away from home. But Postecoglou's not going to do that. And we've all made the case that we don't want Celtic to go and do, and I'm only saying it because they're our rivals and I watched the game. Fuck off, Monty. We're trying to do a serious podcast here. What were we saying there? Sorry.
I was talking about
how do you deal with that? Because
we've all made the case that we don't want Celtic to do what Rangers are doing, right? I'm only using Rangers as an example because I watched the game the other night. They never laid a glove in Liverpool. And I know Liverpool are a quality team, but they're off the boil a bit now. They never troubled them one bit. They don't think they worked the keeper. For me, they've got that extra man midfield. They probably didn't look as open as Celtic did against Leipzig. And if you're a Rangers supporter, you're probably no sitting with your heart in your mouth as much as we were at times. But I'll tell you what, at least we worked their keeper and we got a goal. And it sounds like a really poor ambition, but it was a better watch for us than it would be for a Rangers supporter. And we're still in the group, and I still believe playing the style that Ange wants to play, we can get out of this group with 2 home wins.
But what do you think? Like the Celtic Supporters podcast, ran by Delboy, how you doing, buddy? He says, other than the fan media loving, does Ange deserve criticism as much as he's set in his ways? Successful managers adapt to win games. Stubbornness wins nothing. Now, for me personally, like I'm not coming at Ange saying he needs to change all this and that, but there is subtle adjustments that can be done. I think that's a fair point, in my opinion, because yes, there's been a whole love in me, Ange Postecoglou, blah, 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 he does this and does that, but he's not immune to calling them out sometimes. And sometimes I have to admit, I've been a wee bit peeved off when he hasn't. He made 2 subs in the 70th minute when we were down on our arse in Germany. They made their subs before us, and that kind of spurred them on more. He needs to, for me in European football anyway, a wee bit of quicker judgment needs to be there. I know he's learning himself as well, coming from Japan to us, adapting and stuff like that. But I do get what Delboy saying there, I really do.
No, I understand it as well. Sorry, Franny, go for it.
Sorry, I was going to say, I get what Del's saying as well, and I do agree. I thought he could have made substitutions earlier the other night as well, Stephen. I think the energy was maybe going a wee bit out in us. They maybe could have freshened it up. But I think it's a wee bit naive as well to say he's stubborn. Like Kaiser said it when he was. Kaiser said you don't be a successful manager by playing one way. There's different ways to play that system. It's not attack, and that's it. And it's this 4-3-3, nothing else. We press. There's different ways. He sets up a team, and there's different ways to play that system and different ways to attack. It's not just one way of playing football.
And I think he's shown that he has done that and played the system in different ways.
What Ross said, like to see maybe an extra away from home in Europe, anyway, an extra guy in the midfield to try and make us a wee bit more compact and maybe retain the ball a wee bit better. But does then that take away for the press? Because obviously he wants to press high up the park and win it back higher. Because if you win the ball off in their final third, then they're on the back foot and out of position. So it's one of them. I sort of feel I mean that's a madness formation, but it was. But it's one of them where you want to. There's in years gone by, we have changed our system going into Europe and just try to maybe nick something. And Ange isn't cannot get away from it can be criticised at times, but I think you can also credit him saying, at least he's having a go. We're going out and trying to win a game and not maybe try and get a wee set piece and nick a goal and things like that. He's not void of any criticism. You can criticise him. I do think he could have made substitutions earlier on Tuesday, whatever night.
Gary comes in. I don't think we had the bench to change it up. To be fair, we had to be equal and played out with available subs. I mean, is that the case then? The whole we have two teams arguments out the window because we're big enough to praise the squad depth and we're winning games, but when we're not, we're saying the subs aren't good enough. I just don't get that.
That's just football fans.
For me, I don't agree with that. For me, I think we've not got enough for two teams, but we've got a good squad depth. I've said for weeks now that whoever comes in doesn't take away from the team. Maybe would sort of retract that statement now and say if we make 2 or 3 subs in a game, it doesn't really take away from the team, especially if we're winning. But if we make 6, 7 changes to what you would have to say is more or less our best 11, then that's when you start to see, for the start of a game, that's when you see the quality drop off a wee bit. No?
I see. No, I wasn't disagreeing with you there. I was actually, Anthony Dunn came in with a comment here, one of our own. If we change tactics and inevitable defeat happens, he'll get stick for not playing their strengths. This schizophrenic response to every defeat is to me. I don't like that at all. I think that's, for me, wrong. We're allowed to react to a defeat and give our opinion on what we thought could be changed. That's just null and void there from Anthony. Like,
but see, Ange's made the argument as well. Like he said it before the Real Madrid game. People were asking if he's got to play the same way. He's got to play the same way because I've been drumming it into these guys for a year. This is the way I want to play, and then all of a sudden I'm going to go, well, they're actually quite good. So that way I've been telling you the way to do it. That's how we'll get success. Fuck that. Let's put that in the bin, man. No point doing that tonight. What's the point in playing it ever then?
No one said adjust it. You can make
but he for me he has adjusted.
Yeah, 100%.
But see, when he first came in, he played that system, right? We didn't have the players, but there was a few games where we blew teams off the park 5-6-0, and that I think it was Mirren Dundee early in the last season. Then we started to put teams away early. We'd be a bit more, start playing a bit more within ourselves. Now this is domestically, by the way, talking about. And he did. They sort of reined it in. We alluded to it enough times last season. He reined it in at times. The game at Ibrox, we go up 2-1. Come and break us down.
Yeah, I agree.
We didn't go hell for leather. So he has adjusted it. He still played the 4-3-3, but he allowed Rangers to have the ball. And don't get me wrong, I think he maybe has tried to do that in Europe this season, but it's so much more difficult to do it.
See what you said there? That's a fantastic point. See if you took that carbon copy of the 2-1 performance against Rangers and we kind of sat back and let them have the ball and then do the exact same thing RB Leipzig done to us. See if we implemented that for me in that game there in the week. Might not have changed lots of it, but I think it would have been a lot more difficult to break down in that.
I still think they would have played through as it well. They were that good.
Think so?
Aye. I do, aye.
That's fair enough.
Franny?
I don't know. I don't know if they would have played through as it well, but I don't know how much a difference it would have had on the game because it's hard when you sort of go in a defensive mindset to then get going again when you're maybe chasing a goal. It's hard, and then when you're up against a quality team of Leipzig, it's a lot harder. So I understand what you're saying, Stephen, and to an extent, I maybe would have liked that, but I think it would have then been harder to get up the park to then try and maybe get that equaliser, or if it was 1-1 and get the goal, it might have been harder.
But I don't think. I was just going to say, I don't think what you're saying. Like, take that, the way we played against Rangers, right? I don't think we can play that way against a Leipzig and still have 3 midfielders on the park. I think you need to sacrifice one of your front 3 and get another guy in there to help you out if you're going to let them have the ball, just to be more compact, like we've said. Because if you go with the 3, O'Reilly's not going to sit and defend in a banky 3 or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Says what you were saying there.
Aye. There's my phone. It's I don't know what the deal is with my phone. It like picks up my voice and then starts saying, "Oh, I'm not sure I understood that." I'm like, I'm not even saying nothing, man.
I think as well, like the whole thing, like if you're tweaking the system, right, and we're no experts, let's be honest. My manager experience is Football Manager, sitting there just having a wee beer and something like that. Like, but I mean, when you look at it and you look at players' position, it annoys me when you see players just banging forward at will, and we're open at the back, and they get the goals from simple errors. I mean, we're going to come on to harden that, but it can be fixed. We know it can be fixed. And I just want to come to Brian here. Already playing 40 forward in the stats are similar to a striker. Talking about stats, we will be doing another Stats Drop episode this Sunday at 8 o'clock.
Nice segue. I see what you've done there.
An evening episode with Tony McLaughlin. And we're bringing someone else on board, Stuart Ross from the Celtic Way, who is very big into his stats as well. So we'll be looking at all things stats on the previous 3 games. So that would be the St Johnstone game coming up, the Motherwell game, and the European game Leipzig. Just looking at it from a data point of view. But back to yourself, Ross.
Aye, listen, we could go over that all night. I'm a colour technician. Franny's a spark that's in the office now. And you're a transponder because nobody knows what you do, mate. So, listen, we could go over it all night, but yeah, Ange knows better. Listen, we'll move on to the goals, right? I'll come to you first, Franny. The Rottmer. Do you think it was preventable? I mean, of course it was. But talk us through it.
It is one of the. I suppose if you look at every goal, there's ways you can prevent it, but it was just this short corner again that we seem to like taking and stuff, and then Hatate doesn't play the best pass to McGregor, but I'm still expecting McGregor to control that and maybe probably not get a shot off because they're coming out, but keep the ball moving. So it takes a poor touch.
It's terrible.
It takes a poor touch and just doesn't get back in. Could they pull him down? I think he could. They could maybe try and stop the attack maybe on the halfway line and just take the booking that like he'd done it against Motherwell at the weekend. They knew what he had to do, take one for the team. He could have done that there, but it didn't, and then the boy just outpaces him and then gets up the park and scores. So as an individual, I don't think Juranovic covered his selling glory either way. He should know the boy's running in behind him, and he's kind of, he should maybe, if he's just kind of on the half turn, is he giving himself a better chance to get in? It is fine margins, but I think it could have been prevented, but I think it showed Leipzig in a good way as well, how they got the ball maybe 20-25 yards out, 2 passes later it's a goal.
Aye, it's the speedy attack. But I mean, I think, well, you're saying it, obviously, I mean, it could have been prevented because if Cal McGregor doesn't take a poor touch, it's prevented. It's a horrendous touch. Absolutely horrendous. But for me, I think you're right. I think Juranovic is a wee bit slow to react. And once he does, and Cuckoo's already away, he's on his bike, he's in. Juranovic then he could, do you know what I mean? He could take him down, but he takes him down. He's the last man. He's off the park, so he doesn't do that. I don't know. Probably being harsh. Do you think maybe, Stephen? Do you think Hart could maybe hold his position, stay in his line a bit longer to try and allow Juranovic to maybe usher and Cuckoo out wide?
I think if I'm honest, yeah, the angle, like Cuckoo's coming in from the right hand side, so he's already at an angle. And he slips the pass Joe Hart. Like Joe Hart's fallen, so his body shape, he's going already. For me, like if you've seen like an Arthur Bhoys come out in that situation, he would stay with his knees outstretched. He's going around with him, kind of jockeying him, and then maybe you get a chance of preventing that goal in terms of a save, or maybe Juranovic getting back in time. To go back to the build up as well. Again, Cal McGregor, I don't know what it is recently. Obviously, I mean the not so good news of his injury and stuff. We'll come on to that, Ross. And I just I think his touch was horrendous. There's been a couple of times in previous games where he's took a bad touch and put himself under pressure. he should have. For me, he should have took the man out. I don't know why. He's trying to run with him. He should have done what he done against Motherwell. He should have just took the guy out and took the consequence, and that would have stopped the attack for me anyway. But in terms of the goal itself, as Franny said, 2 passes, they played through us from a corner kick, and Kunku with his quality just made it. I mean, he made it look easy in the end. A weak side roll into the net there at a right hand angle. Great finish and good team goal for them.
Aye, no, it definitely is. Just you touched on McGregor. Should maybe take him down. I get that. I think he's already hurt at that point. I think, and he's busting a gut.
I think he's after he's lost it.
Aye. I think he's hurt himself there, possibly. And then he's maybe struggling, but he's put everything into it to get back. I think he does try to have a nibble at him, but just doesn't get enough on him. But
doesn't he get his final toe to the ball that goes in Kunku? Isn't that what happens?
Does he what?
He gets a toe on the ball, doesn't it? And it goes to their player as well.
From
the replay, it's coming back into my mind. Is that not that one? Oh, sorry then.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. No. But I mean, obviously McGregor is injured, right? It's a big loss. He's our captain, but I've got to say something quite controversial, right? I don't think he's performed anywhere near to the levels that he did last season.
Yes.
And I'll come to you first with these, Franny. I don't think he's performed anywhere near to the level he has last season. I think last season, I don't know if he got like a boost with being made captain. I think it was one of his best seasons in a Celtic jersey.
I knew it was.
Oh well, there you go. Then, I thought you were saying it was in Cuckoo. Sorry.
No, sorry.
I got mixed up. So I don't think he's performed anywhere near the levels. You still want him in the team because what he brings in terms of leadership and stuff like that. But for me, him and another guy who I've loved, but in recent weeks, I think he's been at fault for a number of goals, poor positional play. Juranovic, I think he's needing a wee break out the team. I think the layoff for McGregor will probably benefit him more than it will benefit us, like the team. What do you think of that?
I kind of disagree with the McGregor one. Like he did set very high standards himself last season. It's arguably one of his, if not his best season in a Celtic jersey. It was really, really good. He rose into the captain's role and stuff. And like you say, this season he's not hit the levels, but there's obviously different qualities like the leadership and stuff like that. So you have him in for that. But Juranovic, I'm a big fan of. The other night, I don't think he done well, but I think against Real Madrid and he done okay. Shakhtar, he could argue was caught out again for Mudryk, but this Mudryk seems to be one of the most touted players in Europe, so I think he'll do that with many a defender. But I don't think Juranovic has hit the heights. Is that down to the apparent rumours in the summer? Maybe was his head turned? I don't know. We were always told that Ange Saint is not going to convince somebody to be here, so maybe he was. By the way, Riley, I would agree with that he's not. I would expect more for him in terms of assists and goals. He's not done a lot this season. I mean, it is still early-ish doors in the season. It seems longer because we're into the Champions League's been brought forward and things like that. We're playing that quicker, so it does seem like we're further into the season when we've not even had the first round of fixtures done yet. But I think there is a few players that haven't hit the standards, and McGregor and Juranovic are two of them. And like
only in recent weeks, by the way, because the early part of the season they were dynamite.
You didn't blow teams away and playing crap.
Exactly. What about yourself, Stephen, on they two? And even O'Reilly. We'll touch on what Alistair said because he makes a good point.
I mean, like, people are obviously going to say why we're jumping on these players, but again, it has to be called out. Let's be honest. And albeit they might get away with it.
2 seconds. I'll just be 2 seconds. I need to get this jumper off. I'm going to fucking pass it.
I was going to say, at least it's not me that's run away this week.
Albeit they may get away with it in the SPFL domestic cup competitions, but in European football, you can see the drop off in quality. Colin McGregor, for me, the biggest standout of last season, the captain on the rounds. He took it by the horns. He made us the team we were. Without doubt, by the way, he's still our best midfield player. I'm not downplaying that at all, but he has been off the boil. He hasn't made it. His decision making seems to be a bit safe at the minute. It seems to be laboured, a wee bit slow on the ball. His touches, as the Leipzig goal will tell you, is a wee bit shaky. And maybe it's fitness fatigue for him because he's played a hell of a load of games, and only it's human nature that your body's going to catch up with you at one point, and he maybe picked up that niggle injury from that kind of situation, from his body kind of break.
Like, I don't know if it is a fit, because I thought he was really impressive, McGregor, in the Scotland games.
He was.
I feel quite weird. It was really good.
Well, I mean, to be fair, like maybe the pressure in a way was off him in the games. Do you know what I mean? That could play a major part in the player's thinking too, because if you're in the trenches with your teammates and you're captain, you need to be the standout player regardless of what position you're playing in. The whole injury thing, I won't come on to that yet because I know we're going to do a segment about that. But he does, for me, the break in regards to an injury, fair enough, but it could help him more than the other players in terms of coming back fresh and getting his rehabilitation done, however long that takes. But looking at Ivanovic as well, Ross, 100% agree with you. I don't know why there was such talk about him in the summer about moving. Is he putting this in his agent's mind that he wants to move away from Celtic after such a short period of time? It's a bit strange if that's the case. But since the summer and that break, he hasn't been his usual self. There is some times where he's great, fair enough, but consistency levels have really went down. Again, his first touch for me seems to be a bit iffy. He takes the ball and he runs and he bangs it in front of him and he can't get it and he loses possession and it's a turnover for the other team. In terms of his link-up play with the likes of Maeda on the right, or if it's Abada, seems to be sometimes non-existent in my opinion. And he used to be brilliant dropping into the midfield positions like Greg Taylor, but that side of his game has kind of went as well. O'Reilly, like my granda who's watched along, he's been saying this for weeks. O'Reilly's been off it in terms of his pressing, his kind of running, his passing, and I totally 100% agree. I don't think he's been the same. I don't know whether it's, again, it could be the speculation around his future has went into his head, not in an adverse way where he's banging the door of vans wanting to go, but you know yourself when you're talked about that much in the media, well, not us know ourselves, but I mean professional footballers, they will know it might sink in or they might need help with that, but he hasn't been to his usual levels. But I'm kind of prepared to give him a bye ball, if that makes sense, in terms of he's probably been the one thrusted in the most to take over from Rozic and be that main number 10, because Turnbull, again, hasn't reached the levels. But it's quite, when you talk about it, Ross, it's quite mad how many players have kind of dropped a wee bit.
Aye, and by the way, it's only...
Sorry, Ross, but do you think that maybe the international break came at the wrong time for Celtic?
Yes.
100%. I know we had the
aye, probably, because they went into that with a loss. But, I mean, the Motherwell game, I never seen the whole game because I was away, obviously. But I know. The Motherwell, I didn't see all the Motherwell game because I was away, but what I seen, the highlights and stuff, I seen extended highlights, and they made a lot of chances.
Yeah.
And another day they could have scored 6, 7, 8 goals. So you look at that. That comes down to what you alluded to earlier, Stephen, about being more clinical. But I don't know. They weren't awful the other night. What is it?
Gary's coming in with a clanger there, like.
I know. Well, this is what I was. That was the point I was building up to, by the way. I swear to God,
man. That was mental.
And I was going to. I know. I was actually building up to that point. The guy's bang. Who was it that made that comment?
Gary Melrose.
He's bang on. We're like, I'm no for a second saying we're playing terribly bad. Like, there is a couple of players not playing to the level, which was a really high level. That they're just not reaching that level the last couple of games.
Can I push back to you on that one, right? We talked about the squad depth, right? So if O'Reilly and Ivanovic and McGregor's out indefinitely with injury, are you going to start Ralston and Turnbull ahead of them? Because for me, I wouldn't trust them.
No, so when they start them ahead of them.
Effectively, though, regardless of their form, no matter what we're saying, they need to get through that patch by playing first-team football and starting games. So there's no kind of in or out for them, because them, for me, are still influences on games, regardless of how either it's 90%, 100% all the time or whatever. But I wouldn't put Ralston and Turnbull ahead of them. Like,
no, definitely no. But like you say, they need to keep playing games and play through it. But it's no like they're not playing that bad. They've had a couple of indifferent performances. I'm just saying their levels have dropped slightly, but I'm not worried. I'm not worried in the slightest about it. I think I still believe that we'll go out tomorrow and we'll beat St Johnstone quite comfortably. I still believe that we can again give a really good account of ourselves in the game against Leipzig. It's going to be a difficult game, but I still think we have enough quality in that team to go out and win that game. But I mean, we'll move on, and we'll move on to our equaliser, Stephen. We win it. Just what I've been saying. We win it high up the park, and it's moments like that fill me with confidence, because I think we'll create a lot more moments like that at home than we did the other night, and we just have to be ruthless in the moments and take full advantage of it, because we created moments like that against Real Madrid. We just didn't take advantage of it. But what did you think of the goal, and would you sort of agree with what I've just sort of outlined there?
I think, Paul, as well, our fastest players look slow in Europe. I really agree with that. I think
agree with that. It's always been the same.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of
everybody, sorry, Stephen, I'm just going to add to that. Like, I always watch Celtic, and whoever they're playing, it doesn't matter what level a team it is, always look more athletic.
Yeah, I think as well, like, the goal itself shows you when you stick to the principles of what Postecoglou wants you to do, you'll reap the rewards. And you play brave, you play through their press, you win the ball high up the pitch, you're countering with 4-on-2, I think it was. You've got Kyogo with his pace, binding Jota, and Jota with a one-time finish, and he does that iconic celebration he done against Rangers. It was a fantastic, beautiful goal. But it's all you really can say about it, because it didn't come to anything. We still kind of fell back on our laurels. We played safe. We played in survival mode, and like literally.
Oh right,
that's no, but I love that saying. The reason I love that saying, because if he's wanting to implement this and players are kind of going against it, then it's going to end up the same. Do you know what I mean? It's going to end up the same.
But they're not going against it. They're trying to get used to that level. And Ange is right. He's called them out, and he's told them and pointed out, what this is what you've done wrong. I don't want you to do that. I know I've said it to you. I know it's difficult to implement it, but we go again. We try and do it again.
Yeah, I 100% agree. But like, as I said there, the team goal was class. I think Kyogo, I mean, when he was running, I was going, please make the right decision. Please make the right decision.
Aye.
And he looks up. He looks up, because for part of me was waiting on him checking back and hitting the shot, or checking back and hitting it off their defender. But he looked up. He took his time. He found Jota, and Jota with a fantastic finish. And that, for me, they seem to link up well in Europe. If we look back to Furnace Faros and games like that, that clip of Jota whacking that ball over the cube, maybe a great partnership development there in European football. But yeah, it was a great goal.
Aye. Franny, just come to yourself, just on sort of what I'd said about creating moments like that, and just the goal itself. What was your thoughts?
I think the goal kind of epitomised what we expect for an Ange team, how we win the ball kind of high up the park, and it's similar to what Leipzig done a couple of passes later. It's a goal. That's what we like seeing. It's when you're playing the quick passing, obviously you win it high up the park, and that they're out of position, and then the quick passing creates that space and creates a chance, and you take that chance. But like you say, you do need, at this level, you do need to be more ruthless. Hence why we've maybe not picked up the results or got the rewards for the previous games that maybe our play deserved. But I've just totally lost my train of thought there.
I ken that feeling, kid.
Totally lost where I was going with that. I mean, I got Miele to do the Jota celebration. That's about as good as it got the other night.
Well, listen, but
move on.
I mean, we'll move on. So it was a good goal, right? It's like Stephen said, we scored the goal, but we didn't do the right things after it. I'm sure it was the other goal that got chopped off. I think it was Slob's eye or something like
that. Yeah.
Anyway, so we get the reprieve for that. For me, when I first seen it, I was like, "Wow, that's a goal." What are they even talking about?
Aye.
But I still think it was harsh. But later on, it was offside. He is in Hart's liney sight, but we get the reprieve for that. That's two let-offs, two second chances, if you like. We've got away with it. It's one each. You think, are we going to ride our luck away from home for the first time ever? And before you even get to digest that, Hart serves one up my fucking plate for fucking whoever it was.
Myself,
I mean, Franny, talk us through that fucking disaster.
It's like say, we've actually got the what's the goal day moment. It was it was like I'm enough. I understand why the goal was chopped off, but I think it was up the other end. I'd be raging at. Like I think we said it in the chat. I don't think any of us really thought the goal should have been chopped off, but you take it. You obviously especially at this level, when we weren't necessarily we're up against it a wee bit in opposition, so you look for the lucky breaks. But like I said, but the referee was it felt like the referee was just running back to give it, and the next thing you know, Silva's gone in and goal, and you're like, what's happened here? But it's obviously been 2 or 3 passes. Because at first I thought initially it came for the resulting free kick, and I was like, surely it's not that bad that it came for the resulting free kick offside, and he's gave it straight away. But it kind of goes to what Ange touched on that Stevens used. I do think that was when you look at that now, knowing what Ange said, because I've kind of looked at that at bits of the game, like seen highlights of the game, and then with the mindset of Ange saying how we played safe and weren't brave. And I think that goal epitomised it, because I think it was Jenz. He gave it to Jenz first, Hart. Now, I'm not trying to take Hart out to blame. Hart's to blame for this goal. But he gave the ball to Jenz, and Jenz had a pass out to Taylor, but plays it back to Hart. And then Hart gives it to Welsh, and Welsh had a pass out to Juranovic, but Welsh gives it back to Hart. And then Hart's then tried to bypass but gave it to a Leipzig player instead.
Aye.
But
the ball he tried.
It's never on.
He tries to play no on. It's never on. And
if you've got to do that, you've got to try and clip it over. But even then, clipping it over is still not on, because there's not
dangerous
between that. It's dangerous, and between the Leipzig boy and Taylor, there's maybe 5-10 yards. The Leipzig boy's got to go back. Whether if he intercepts it, they might not necessarily score then. But that pass is not on. I know he comes out and says what he says, but
the
in the chat, I think it's game management comes in there. I know Kyle goes up front; he's unlikely to win the header, but just put it up there, get yourself up the park. You've had a couple of passes and tried to play out, but your 2 centre halves have gave you it back.
Sometimes you have to just play the moment.
Read the room, so to speak, and just put it up the park, and we'll reset and try and win it back and go again. But I'm not going to say Hart's at fault, but I think Jenz and Welsh have got a part to play, because that's when they went into playing that sort of a safe defensive mode.
For me, I mean, I didn't notice Celtic doing that in real time. I only noticed it after it, mate.
I only noticed it when it's been brought to attention.
Aye, but I mean, Stephen, I know you're itching to come in that Hearts interview there. For me, I think you're going to agree with me. I think that he says something along the lines of that's the way the manager wants us to play or whatever. That's not the style. You played a 15-20 yard pass right into a guy's feet when there was no pass on. For me, that's a cop out. Fair play to him for coming out and facing up, but didn't he say that? What do you think?
I think his choice of words were horrendous.
I think that's what it's Aggie's choice of words was bad.
It was like he's basically in a nutshell for me trying to abolish himself of any blame. I know he said it was his mistake, fair enough, but he's trying to kind of counter that argument by going, "But it's how the manager wants us to play." No, as Franny said,
got to take responsibility. But
as Franny said, I don't care if you're playing like Kyogo or a Peter Crouch up front or whoever. You hit that ball as hard as you can to get it out of that danger, regardless of that type of game management of the way he wants to pass the ball. He's experienced enough to know that if he looks up and he thinks he sees Greg Taylor. I don't know what he was looking at, pixie dust or something, and he plays a lovely slider pass to their forward Silva, who loves to gobble them chances up, and he got it. I thought as well, you're right to bring up Welsh and Jenz in this argument too, Franny. They did play a part. They didn't get rid of the ball either, but I think at the end of the day, we've seen our centre halves more often than not. If they can't find a pass in front of them, they will go back to the keeper. And Joe Hart has kicked the ball long at times. It's not like he's never done it before, so I don't know why he's trying to be like, oh, I've been told not to, or this is how we're meant to do it. And also, if you look at that replay where Hart has the ball, Jenz peels off the left-hand side to fill the gap that Greg Taylor left. So there was an easier ball on for him, but I really don't know what goes through his mind. He's made, for me anyway, a couple of mistakes in the last game, and last couple of games, the Shakhtar game, the St Mirren game beforehand. I do think he was a foul for one of them goals at least, and I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, wow, what is going on? If you hoof that ball, I don't care if you have to take a Balogun from Postecoglou. You explain yourself. You tell me you couldn't make that pass because there was no pass on to make. Bring Barkas back.
If there's no pass on, you just get it up and put it into an area for somebody to chase a ball down. It's one each away from home. Sometimes you hate to do that. I want to sort of touch on the both of you had sort of not had a go at Welsh and Jenz, but I understand where these are coming from. But like you had sort of alluded to, Stephen, we do that a lot. We pass it. Okay, we'd passed ourselves into a position where we had to go back to the keeper. It wasn't great, but if Hart just empties it, they were not talking about that. Sometimes you hate to go back to go forward, and they had to go back because Leipzig were pressing us. Not a high speed press or anything like that, but just shutting off the spaces. They shut off the spaces, which in turn made that they've done their job, which makes Welsh and Jenz go back the way. But then, like, the pass is no there. Just fucking empty it, man. I know it's all right saying it, and you're watching it in hindsight and stuff like that, and you sometimes you're playing off the cuff. I know, but you're playing off the cuff sometimes. But like,
it was there, was it?
The pass is no there. It was really shite, man. It was. But I mean, we'll move on to the third goal. I mean, it was nail in the coffin. We're trying to get back. Trying to get back into it. There's spaces left, but for me, it was just a goal of real quality. Do you think there's anything we could have done about it, Stephen?
Well, I mean, first things first, we'll have to give kudos to their right back. He was an absolute machine. Silicone or something like that, but silicone I'm nearly saying, but it was something like that anyway. But he was an absolute. He just ran up and down that wing. He was got by players, and the kind of what I liked about the goal, and I'm saying but you know what I mean. It comes into him, and he just takes it and he plays it over, and your man Silva's coming in at the left hand side, and he just puts it in the back of the net. Not really much that could be done. I think the game's gone at that point, and I think some of the players their minds were gone and legs were gone, and it was a case of trying to see the game out and keep it the damage limitation, because you look back at the VAR goals that were chalked off, and I agree with you guys. If the third goal at that time scored wasn't chalked off, I wouldn't have even cared, because I don't think there was nothing wrong with it. But again, it was just one of them things. The game management side of things went out the window. The whole he brought on the Giakoumakis and things like that. But for me, it was 10 minutes too late. Unfortunately, they could have been made a wee bit earlier to give the team a bit more energy, a bit more fresh legs.
Did they bring Giakoumakis
on? The last 10 minutes or something.
I can't even mind that.
Yeah, it's mad for me. It's mad for me as well how Giakoumakis seems to. I know he had a wee bit of an injury in international break, but even before that, he hasn't been given, for me, the respect he deserves. He was fantastic for us last season. I know Kyogo's the number one striker, and let's be honest, he's probably the number one handsman, to be fair as well. But I think Giakoumakis has to start some of these games. He can offer something different.
I totally agree with that. I mean, just add to that, Franny. Talk about the third goal, and then just bounce off of what Stephen's just sort of said there.
It's like I went back, go back to earlier. You could maybe try and find something that would stop the third goal. Personally, I can't. It was for me, it's a really, really good goal and stuff. Sometimes you have got to just put your hands up and go, well, that was a good goal. What could we do?
Mm-hmm.
I do agree with Stephen. That right back was he was really,
Oh,
really
incredible.
Good. I think the boy that scored the second goal that was chopped off, I thought he was a really, really good player as well.
Yeah.
And then clearly that in Kunku, you've seen why he's getting touted for silly money for the English Premiership. He looks a real superstar.
But he was getting touted for that bloody last year and played like a fucking dick against Rangers.
I don't know if the heads had gone by that, but I think maybe they were a wee bit in the sense, but more deflated in the manner you lost the second goal, because you get that reprieve from the VAR decision, then you gear away a stupid silly goal and stuff. So I think maybe that's when the players felt maybe leggy, because they maybe got a wee boost of energy for getting another VAR decision going their way. Then you just instantly give that goal away, and it's maybe just the legs. You started feeling it a wee bit more in the legs, and I think with the Giakoumakis one, I don't think his intention was ever to bring Giakoumakis on. I think he's maybe still carrying a bit of an injury, hence why he didn't come on until maybe 10 minutes to go to try and.
I'm also mean before.
I agree that he probably could have been used more, beforehand and stuff. But it was just, for me, that third goal was it was a goal of real quality and stuff. But I think maybe the team's legs had not gone, but just the night started to wear on them, because Leipzig really moved the ball really well and had some top players. Like you see now, the substitutions we brought on compared to them, I think I seen a stat like they brought on, their substitutions had 185 caps. I don't know how many others had, but you're lucky I don't know if they had 20. In fact, McCarthy probably got about 185 himself, in fairness. He's probably got a few for Ireland.
Aye, but I mean, we'll sort of bring that defeat to an end. We've spent a bit of time on that. Enjoyed talking about it.
I loved it.
It's good, aye. Listen, before we move on to the next bit, I'll let you just remind everybody, Stephen, of the viewer takeover.
Yes, the viewer takeover is back this month with Jed Thomas. I think this is the last Friday this month. Forgive me, the date escapes my mind. I'm a couple of beers deep here, but he is back in the end of this month. We're all looking forward to having him on. Again, it'll be a good laugh. We'll talk about Celtic, the usual. And then Alistair Jack, I believe, who is off at the moment. He's away to Perth in the morning. So good luck with that trip, and hope all goes well in terms of the result. Is he?
I think, move on if he's going to Australia, sir.
And he'll be on after Jed if all goes well. So viewer takeover, it's live in the kicking. Get in touch with us. Gary Melrose, Egyptian King, Brian McCabe. If anyone's interested, social media channels, you know where we are.
Aye. By the way, there's a few of the boys who probably do a better hosting job than me.
What?
Why's up?
What's up,
right. So we'll move on to the mounting injury list. It is starting to mount. The mounting. Franny, we've got. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, right? Because I've not had time to properly read up. So I'm putting it to use.
Right.
CCV, could he be back at the weekend?
I think he was training today.
And then you've got Gigi, who obviously came on. I didn't even realise that. Do you think he'll be there or thereabouts?
I hope so.
Aye. And then obviously we've got Starfelt, who I'm not sure he's no anytime soon.
I really miss him.
What did you say, Franny? It's what?
I think I'd read that it was at the end of October when he's back.
Right. And then McGregor, lengthy.
Yep.
Moy, I'm not sure how long, but I mean, Franny, these guys are starting to mount up, aren't they?
It's coming at a crucial time, obviously, with the World Cup and stuff. I think there's 9 games we play in October. The Leipzig game maybe counts as one, so maybe it's like 8 games we're still to play before the season sort of has an extended winter break, if you like. So the injuries aren't great, so I think that's where we're going to have to start using the squad a wee bit more. And I wouldn't say try and ride our luck, because I think the squad is good enough, but maybe not making 6 or 7 changes. But I think we might need to start using, maybe rotate a wee bit more with 2 or 3 changes every week, and then try and utilise the subs a wee bit better and things like that, and not just make the same subs, maybe keep guys fresh
the
for the
same
next game.
three.
The same three, maybe just as opposed to a Forest, maybe bring on a Haksabanovic or whatever, or things like that. Just guys that can play the position, but not normally. Like, I know you said Moy's injured, but it seemed to be McGregor would come off and Moy comes on, maybe an Abelgard comes on, or a McCarthy, Stephen's best pal, and that. Something like that, just try and freshen the squad up. So I think the squad has got to get tested over the next month anyway. The sooner, like obviously Starfelt's massive, I think. Starfelt is a wee bit massive to be fair, but CCV, I think it's
a wee bit massive.
I don't think it's any coincidence. I don't think it's any coincidence that our sort of a poor form defensively is coupled with him not being in the team, and I think that's maybe playing a wee bit in Hart as well, and maybe reading too much into that Hart's maybe got more confidence when Carter Vickers is in front of him. He maybe trusts him a wee bit better in that, so maybe that's playing into a wee bit. Hart's in different form, but the injuries, it was like last season at a key moment came at a difficult time. We managed to navigate ourselves through that. So the McGregor one is the one that I'm most concerned about. That obviously I don't know if you've heard anything, but all I know is it's not looking great at this moment in time.
Aye, it's definitely his knee.
Aye,
fuck knows. We'll find out in the coming days, I'm sure. Turnbull's out tomorrow as well, but it's not he's got tonsillitis or something. He'll be on the couch with a wee sponge and a bottle of Lucozade. But for me, Stephen, I think at worst, out of the ones we've spoke about there, at worst we need CCV and GG available for the Leipzig game next week. Would you agree with that?
I mean, we're not quite at the level when we had to bring on the likes of Joey Dawson and play Montgomery at the left-hand side and Juranovic on the right wing. But the injury list is getting quite big at the moment. I mean, Carter Vickers wasn't training today. If he didn't start against Leipzig in the home game, I'd be quite concerned going in a game with Welsh and Jenz. Starfelt, we know, was out the October time, probably after the World Cup. Aaron Moy, I heard rumours today that he got his contract cancelled by mutual consent. Let's hope that's true. That's a joke, by the way. Who else did we say there?
Bhoys would love that, man.
Giakoumakis, again, he's probably just coming back fully fit from whatever kind of niggle he picked up away with Greece. But McGregor, for me, like, regardless of it, discussed this form, and fair enough, I had to do that. But in terms of captain, in terms of his experience and leadership within that team, and he's number 6, he's the linchpin, the deep line playmaker. We're going to miss him big time. And it's like you think, like, we miss Carter Vickers. You seen like the first game he was out, we were a totally different side at the back. No one looked sure of what to do. The Hart one, the Hart comment he made, Franny, about maybe that's why it's a different his form. I can get that, but I mean, he's experienced enough. He doesn't have best friends in the game. He can play with other centre halves. He doesn't have to pass it to Greg Taylor to prove he needs Carter Vickers back. But I think, like, if we're going to do a game of McCarthy at the base of that midfield, I could outrun McCarthy and haven't ran about 20 years. You could, Ross.
I could.
Exactly.
That was a good example to use.
No, I wasn't going to any pace.
if we're going with Moy in a game, in a European game, again, I think it's a lost cause. Abelgard seemed decent when he came on. He seemed to break up the play of that. He get in, he gets stuck in about it. Albeit he looked quite slow and laboured at times, but I've seen a wee bit of glimpses from him, and I'm like, I like that. He tracked back an awful lot, and he made a simple pass. So
I think in Europe
I think for me, he'll be the one who's going to start tomorrow as well. He was in the presser with Anne, so that tells you something.
I think that tells you something.
Yeah, but and I seen a lot of chat about the captain saying, do you know something? Like, I maybe go against the grain. I wouldn't be adverse to see Gregory Taylor have it, to be honest. I know Joe Hart's vice captain, but I know Postecoglou's very keen on Taylor, and you never know. It could just happen.
They gave it to Hart
me
the other night, didn't they?
Aye, so
I think
it would go.
listen.
I totally understand your argument there, though,
Aye.
Steve.
No, I would have him captain even when McGregor's in the team, man. Fucking
I know that. I know.
But
I think that's a fair shout.
Aye, that's a fair shout. I think you'll probably find that Hart will get it, but I wouldn't be adverse to that. I think he would do a job. You watch the sort of when the two players do the questions and they talk about like who's the funniest, he always gets a good mention. He's well liked, aye. So aye.
I think it'd be a nice compliment to him as well.
Aye, he could come in and do it.
I think as well, like you know my feelings on him. Like I've made it perfectly clear, but his improvements is there for.
You don't like any Celtic player.
Listen, Ross, don't start that stuff. I'll make a few calls there, buddy. No, but like,
I'm liking you on, man.
No, but 100%. Like I think, to be fair, his improvement's fantastic, and he has leadership within the team. You can see it when he's on the pitch as well. Players seem to look at him and listen and stuff, which is a good sign. You go through the injury list is concerning. Big games coming up. We have a hectic schedule, and I'm just concerned, Ross, if I'm honest, if we're going in playing McCarthy and Moy in that midfield. It would just make me book.
In Europe, it would concern me, but we navigated. You alluded to it yourself. We navigated last season domestically with worse injuries than we've got now. We have a weaker squad than we've got now. So I'm filled with hope and confidence in terms of domestically. But excuse me, in Europe, it's a whole different ball game. Even with our full strength team, it's tough. But we've got Abada back as well. Obviously, again, it wasn't an injury, but he wasn't available.
He needs to start.
He's had he wasn't getting a start at the start of the season. Everyone wanted him in. He came in, he done brilliant. He had that boost, if you like, he coming in, and then he fell away a wee ever so slightly. But listen, again, we've got really good options for that front three. We're no struggling for players there. But aye.
What do you think about that? What Frank's saying?
John had mentioned something about that earlier. But he also said on Facebook the day that the Beatles were shite, so I'm not really going to listen to him. But for me, I think Franny answered it well. I'm sure it was Franny in our group chat earlier. I get why you would maybe suggest that, but I think we've got three guys in there: McCarthy, Abelgard, and Ideguchi. That two of them.
Ideguchi. I totally forgot about him.
Aye, two of them for me don't look up to the task, and the other one's still to prove himself. But for me, nah, I wouldn't go for Wanyama.
I'm gonna say, like I said to John, I understand where he's coming from with Wanyama and stuff, but what's that saying to like Abelgard, Moy, McCarthy, and Ideguchi?
That whole thing for me is living in that kind of mindset again, where you're doing friends a favour, isn't it? You're bringing back a former player for a
like I say, I think I know where John's coming from with that with the Wanyama one, but I don't think that, like Ross said, that McCarthy and Ideguchi. Ideguchi and McCarthy, like you can't argue against them. They've not, for various reasons. Ideguchi, it seems to be the longest injury in the world. It just seems to be causing an injury, but you see him in training a lot, so can it always?
I think it's a lot to do with his top knot.
I think that looks quite smart though.
So I'll move on quickly for that, Stephen. So like you can't. It would not be. I don't think it would be a good message to send to the four guys if you're bringing in Wanyama because your captain's got injured.
Aye, I agree with that. What about yourself, Stephen, on the Wanyama?
As I said, I think that Wanyama's living in that sentimentality type world where you're kind of bringing them in to kind of fill a void for 6 months. Well, I'm assuming, just guessing here, a knee injury can be bad. But if it's that kind of lengthy period, I think Ideguchi, if he keeps fit, I think he'll prove his worth. I think Abelgard will be in the nailed on kind of centre defensive mid, so to speak. Moy and McCarthy will be the ones kind of coming into the game 60, 70th minute to kind of fill that void to bring us through. But Wanyama was a fantastic player for us. The goal against Barcelona, the times where he bullied teams by himself, a massive unit, a great player, went to the Premier League, proved himself there over in the MLS, and he's left his club today, I believe. But I can't see it happening. I know there was talk about it in Neil Lennon's final season. You can see why, but for me, nah, it's too late now.
See if
he'll end up at Ammonia. Is it Ammonia or Nicosia? That's where he'll go.
See if he's just left it now. They wouldn't be able to play with us till January, surely. Because we'd
Free
be able to
transfer.
register.
He's a free agent.
Free agent. You can still.
You can still bring in free because it's not a transfer fee or anything like that. That's my understanding anyway. It could be fully shite, but so before we move on to the St Johnstone game, I'm just now that we're halfway through the group stage in the Champions League, I just want to get your thoughts on how not so much how it's went because we've done that, but where do you think we'll end up after the next 3 games? So I mean, Stephen, you've said that the Leipzig away game was a must win for you. Are you still sticking with that? And where do you think we'll end up in the group?
I'm still sticking with that. At least one of them away games were a must win. So the Shakhtar one was definitely one we could take advantage of. We drew. The Leipzig game, added pressure for me. If we win that game, we're in good footing. We're relying now on us kind of playing their levels at home, which, let's be honest, I mean, we haven't really done so in European football in previous seasons. I hope it does change. My aspirations have changed, Ross. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and bullshit everyone saying I think everything's rosy and we're going to finish second place. We're going to win our last 3 games at a canter. Can't see it happening, to be honest. I think sometimes we're guilty of being we're guilty of being overconfident and kind of underestimating how teams don't fear coming to Celtic Park no more. It's not a fortress. It's not something that teams are scared of. They embrace that atmosphere. And as I said before in the Champions League Rewind, the intimidation factor is gone from Celtic Park.
I think you're guilty of underestimating teams like Leipzig and Shakhtar.
I'm not getting. How's that me underestimating them teams? I'm saying they can come to us and get a result.
You're also saying that we should go to them and get a result.
Yeah, because I believe we should, which I don't think is wrong. I don't think it's wrong for me to say.
I don't think it's wrong, but
we should go to that. But then to come back to you, then there'll be a German fan and a Ukrainian fan saying the exact same thing about them coming to us, being like we could beat them at their patch. As you quoted, I'm going to quote you. It's normal talk because we do it on a weekly basis.
All right.
So shove it right up.
How many beers you had, sir?
But I think, for me, I think third place would be a good achievement at this stage. Europa League football, albeit lesser level, maybe we can compete more than that if we're honest. Hopefully we don't do and fully shit ourselves and finish 4th. For me, that would be an absolute failure. I'm not going to dress it up. Third place for me right now, Ross. I'd take it.
Aye. And Franny, what about your sale on that?
I've still got aspirations to finish in second, just simply the way the group is panned out at this stage and with the games we've got to play. I mean, obviously Leipzig's massive on Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever day it is. But I think realistically, my heart says we're going to win our 2 home games and Real Madrid will win their games, which sense, regardless of what happens in the last game, we finish second and go through, because obviously it just goes with the head-to-head. But I think realistically we'll finish third. I think if we get 4 points out the next 2 games, I think we'll be doing well, because Leipzig really did surprise me. Obviously, not going to sit here and profess this. I've seen a lot of their games, but you've seen obviously their league position, how they got turned over in Germany by Shakhtar. Then you look at our performance against Shakhtar and think, we'll just turn up and maybe do something similar. And it was the complete opposite, really. So I think if we get third, that'll be success, providing we then go on to the Europa and win a knockout fixture in Europe. But I kind of, as much as Mr. Negative there, I kind of agree with him that if
not negative, if
we finish last in this group, I don't see that as anything but don't know if disaster is the right word, but
disappointment.
It's a major disappointment if we finish last, considering
Ross,
where we are now at the halfway stage. I
Ross,
appreciate
can I ask
looking
you
at it,
something?
we're bottom, but our next two home games,
Yeah.
we could guarantee you're second.
Can I ask you something, Ross, on the basis of what Franny's saying there, right?
Uh-huh.
You mentioned RB Leipzig, quality team, right? If they turn us over at home, will you still be of the same mindset, saying too much quality? Or will you be disappointed in Celtic in this case?
Well, it's difficult to say, not having seen how the game's panned out.
But
It
I
sounds
mean,
like I'm sitting in the fence.
You're sitting in that splinter
Well, I'm
there.
not,
So
because
I kinda get what you're
I
saying.
can't form a proper opinion because I've not seen how the game's panned out. But before the game, if we get beat 3 or 4-0, say, no matter how the game panned out, I'm disappointed. I'm gutted because Celtic shouldn't be getting beat 3 or 4-0 off anybody at home. Doesn't matter who it is. Celtic don't get beat 3 or 4-0. But, well, sometimes they do, but you know what I mean. But for me, the way I try and look at it is when that draw was made, right, we were all like, it's a decent draw. We can do well in that group. But we all said third would be good. Then we played really well for 60 minutes against Real Madrid. We lost 3-0. I just said Celtic going to beat 3 or 4-0, but there you go.
Contradiction.
But we lost 3-0, right? But we played really well for 60 minutes. Then we went to Shakhtar. Okay, we didn't win the game. Should have. We played really well and we should have won the game. Then we were all getting carried away and saying, we can get second. Like, we've been beat 3-0 and we believe we can get second. After the Leipzig game, again, I would take third, but we can still finish second because there's enough points to play for, and we've got 2 home games. And we're not going to ignore the fact that Leipzig are a very good team and it's going to be very difficult. Shakhtar are a decent team and it's still going to be difficult to beat them. There's no easy games in the Champions League.
I totally agree. 100%.
We can finish second, but third is more realistic. But I would say that finishing second at the moment is more likely than finishing fourth. If that makes sense.
Aye. Because I would be disappointed if we don't beat Shakhtar at home.
Aye.
I'm not saying I'd be happy if we get beat off Leipzig, but seeing how good a team they are, it's not. I'm not saying it's the right thing to say. It's one you could take, but it's one you maybe understand.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Well, listen, that's our predictions. They'll be totally fucking wrong. Real Madrid will get beat the next 3 games.
No, we'll finish last. We'll win our 2 games and somehow finish last with it.
Oh, by the way, you came up. Something will happen where we'll win our 2 games, and there'll be some situation that Leipzig will beat Real Madrid or something, and
we'll somehow finish last in 7 points or something.
That'll be fucking some nonsense anyway. But we'll move on. So we'll move on to the game tomorrow. It's an early kickoff away to St Johnstone. So, what, Franny?
That Frank Kennedy get. I actually watched the Rangers game. That was an easy game.
By the way, he's not far right. But we've got St Johnstone early kickoff tomorrow. I'm not sure when I think we must play Leipzig on Tuesday then.
Must be.
Yeah, we do.
Because I was thinking earlier, like, why are we playing the early kickoff when Rangers played Tuesday? But it'll be because they'll be playing Wednesday. But regardless, Stephen, how do you think the game will go and your lineup score predictions?
Well, I mean, like previously, before the last domestic game against Motherwell, the panel predicted a comfortable victory, 3-0 victories, and that was totally the wrong case, wasn't it really? I mean, I think at the moment, we're in a sticky patch, and it doesn't seem like a sticky patch from the outset because we're still winning domestic games, but I mean, in our own form and our own standards and what we can do, in my opinion, we're in a sticky patch. McDermott Park, I hate that pitch. I hate that stadium. It just looks so amateur. Like on the TV cameras, all them multicolored seats. It's like, what's going on? Put them blue or something. You know what I mean? You wear a blue shirt, make them blue.
I don't think there's a blue seat in the stadium, man.
And I know Callum Davidson. I think from what I can remember, they're on a kind of an upward trajectory. They're still scoring. They're scoring goals. They signed some new players, like Halberg and all from Hibs, so they've got a decent midfielder there. But again, Celtic win for me all day, every day. I think maybe a 2-1 possibly. I think we may concede because that pitch just gives me the heebie-jeebies. I know we've had a good record there, but it looks like sand. It just looks like hard surface and a terrible thing to play on. I'll go 2-1 from a score prediction. My lineups would be Joe Hart, Ralston, Welsh, Jenz, Taylor, Abelgard, Hatate, Haksabanovic in the 10 with Abada outright, Jack and Mackles through the middle, and Jada on the left.
Alrighty. And what about yourself, Ryan?
I think it'll be a comfortable-ish game. It's like St Johnstone are on a wee bit in no badish form, I think, but they're still languishing down about 8, 9, 10 for something in the league. So I said that against Motherwell. Obviously, Motherwell weren't playing great. It was sort of for the perfect game, and if you look at it in isolation, it maybe looked like a struggle, but like I say, Ross, when you actually watch the game, it really wasn't a struggle. So I think it's in a roundabout way, it's a decent away tie. It's not a ground we've predominantly struggled in it. Hopefully somebody doesn't call me out in that right now. But I don't. I'm just.
No, he's just saying anybody.
Anybody. I can't really remember the last time we dropped points there. It feels like a place that we've got a good history at. So I feel like it'll be a fairly comfortable afternoon, maybe a 2 or a 3-0. But
You need to be exact. Come on. Don't want Vegas.
I'll go 3. I'll go 3. And my team, I'm sticking with Hart obviously because I think he'll be captain anyway. I think Juranovic will keep his place. We'll see. I honestly think it'll be Welsh and Jenz and Taylor at the back three. I think he might just keep Carter Vickers for the Leipzig game. The midfield three, I think it'll be Abelgard that will come in with Hatate and O'Reilly. I would like to see Haksabanovic coming in, but I think it's more likely to be Abada. And I think he'll play Giakoumakis and then Jota on the left.
All right. Well, myself, I'm going to go hassle-free 2-0. Franny score. And my lineup, I'm going to go Hart and goals, Juranovic. I think if he's fit and ready to go, I think he'll play CCV just to give him minutes in his legs before the midweek game. I think Jenz alongside him, Taylor. I did have McCarthy in, but he's made a good point. He's made a good point about Abelgard and the presser. So I think he'll probably play. I was thinking my thinking was maybe keep Abelgard for during the week and just give McCarthy a run out. He came on the other night, I'm sure. But anyway,
yeah,
I'll go Abelgard, Hatate, O'Reilly, Haksabanovic on the left. No, is he right?
I think he can play anywhere across the
field. Aye. Haksabanovic on the left. Kyle go through the middle and Forrest on the right.
Ooh.
Take yourself for a walk.
Take yourself for a walk.
I'm glad somebody else wants Haksabanovic in.
Aye.
I put him in.
I like the look. No, Ross wanted him. You didn't put him in.
Yes, I did. He was my number 10.
Silly.
Anyway, right.
Totally
so that's the end of the podcast. Now on to the wee fun part. It's not a agree to disagree. I thought I'd change it up a wee bit and go for a wee who am I? So
you're Ross.
I think
You're Ross. There's me.
Wow. Anyway, so you know how it works, but 3 clues. If you guess it right on the first clue, you get 3 points. Second clue, 2 points. Third clue, 1 point, right?
Do you need to
So
say
we'll
your
do
name or
two.
that to get a guess?
No, you just say if you like if I give you the first clue and you think you want to hear guessed it, If you're right, I'll tell you after the 3 clues and let you know how many points you got.
All right.
All right. So it's not like
Gamble here,
fastest
gamble
first
here.
or that. You just so the first player. Obviously they're all Celtic orientated, but so the first clue is what, Stephen?
I said I hope so.
Aye. So the first clue, I signed for Celtic from Sheffield United in 1994 for £350,000.
Brian McClure.
Well, is that your guess?
I don't know who it is. Brian Malison. Brian
Right,
McClure.
right, okay.
Did you see get name your guesses then?
Yeah.
No, you
can
can.
you? I mean, you're as well as saying I guess it's something in it, you know.
Aye, aye.
I have actually the idea, to be honest.
Didn't hear a guess. In fact, I think Franny's right. You probably shouldn't just
Right,
bring Jim,
okay.
but I didn't tell you that, so we'll allow it for this one, but no the next
Right.
one.
I
Right.
got the next clue.
Next clue. My transfer fee spelt the end for the Celtic board as the bank refused to pay my transfer fee.
I felt that was harder than the first one. That's got me nowhere near it.
Willie Falker.
Oh, really? All right. Fucking
come from
Google it,
Motherwell.
you bastard.
Is it?
Well, the third clue. I played as a striker, and my initials are WF.
Willie Faulkner. Maybe you've
Thank you.
googled
Well
that.
done, Stephen.
You've googled that 100%. You've read Alistair Jack there.
How have I Googled that? I'm literally looking at nothing. You've seen me
How
type.
the fuck did
Put
you
your
get
hands up
that,
like
sir?
that. I want hands up like
I
that.
remember my granda speaking about it before.
Oh,
Aye,
yeah, there
yeah.
you go. By the way, fair enough. Right, so this one will do. You only get one guess. You have to make a decision when you're ready to guess, right? So at the moment it's Franny 1, Stephen 2. Right,
okay.
so the first clue. John Barnes gave me my debut in a UEFA Cup qualifier in 1999 against Cumbrian Town.
Nah.
Next clue.
Correct. Next clue. Franny, next clue.
Aye, sorry, aye.
Aye. I came up through the youth ranks and played 66 games, predominantly under Martin O'Neill.
Mark Burchell.
That's your guess, kid.
Mm-hmm. I think I went early.
Jimmy Smith.
Oh, by the way.
Right, and the final clue. I played as a winger, and my initials are JS. Stephen nails it again.
You gave him this before we came on, man.
That was outstanding, Stephen.
See, as soon as he said that, I was like, what a shout that
Always
is.
remember Jimmy Smith. Did he play for Aberdeen?
I think he did, aye. He went to Aberdeen.
Yeah, I remember.
Later
He played
in
the
career,
UEFA Cup against Bayern Munich.
That was outstanding, kid. I'm very impressed. So you get 4 points, Franny got 1. That was a dude. Well, very impressed with the Willie Faulkner one. Like, you won, aye. You won, aye. 4-1. 4-1, aye. Absolute dude.
Love it.
Well, that's the end of the podcast. Once again, I'm on, and it's up to an hour and 40 minutes. I don't know how I do it, but I do it. I do apologise, but I hope you've enjoyed it.
That was brilliant, mate. It was great to have you back on.
I was making up for lost time. Wee bit of overtime, wee bit of OT.
But you were running your marathon again.
By the way, that's not even a half marathon yet. That's 1 hour and 58 minutes, a half marathon, kid.
Love it.
Anyway, that's the end of the podcast. Stephen, I'll hand the reins over to you for to do the wee bits and bobs and shits and giggles.
Perfect.
And tits and tats.
Well, as we said, Neeps and a tate, is it? As we said On Sunday, we are back with Statstrap with myself, Tony McLaughlin, and Stuart Ross. Looking back at these 3 previous games, so St Johnstone, Motherwell, RB Leipzig, something to look forward to from a more data side of things. Normal podcast on Monday, and as usual, the sponsors, Beer 52, beer52.com/Celts. Claim your free case of beer, cover your postage, subscription basis after that, but cancelled any time with no cost at all. Get involved. Super 6, get the scores in. Keep that wee dick away from top spot as much as you can. And again, the mental health charities along the bottom of the screen as well. So if you're struggling at any point in your life, reach out, and everyone's available to talk to you at any given time. But until then, until Sunday, for Statstrap, stay well and keep safe. Hail, hail.